Hi. My name's Courtney Bossart, and I am from Integrated Soul. I'm really overjoyed to be here today and be able to share a bit about what is embodiment, what is presence within embodiment, and what is this path, this mysterious path of conscious surrender. Before we move into that place, I'd love to invite us in this moment to an invitation of consecration of this moment, of this time together in spirit, where we offer the fruits of this moment to Father, Mother, God, Holy Spirit, the All, Source, whatever that name is, for the all in all. And I will lead us. If you would like to close your eyes. Taking a clearing breath. We consecrate the fruits of this learning, this listening, this deepening, this integration, this recognition, this application, this change within. To you, divine Father, Mother, God, Holy Spirit, Source, that we may be in your presence. And within this space, we may commune with you more deeply, that we may come to know ourselves more intimately. And know our closeness to and with you, within. So be it. So I'm really excited to share a bit about a path that we really do know, all of us together. When we talk about embodiment and presence, they can almost seem like a paradoxical experience, and yet it's so far from the truth of that. When we speak about embodiment, we're really talking about bringing awareness into the experiencing or the experiencer that's felt and known through the body system. And that's also deeply multifaceted, right? We can talk about emotions. We can talk about feelings, even the difference between those. For example, the difference between feelings and emotions, from my perspective, is that emotions tend to be and have a mental charge to them, where thoughts are involved that create an emotion. And feelings tend to be more sensorially related. For example, in sensing the body, we're sensing how it radiates, what it moves, it cold, hot. We're talking about temperature, movement, color. We're not talking about, though, the story. So when we think about practices like somatic therapies or somatic embodiment, what's really helpful to know or understand is we're listening more to the experience of what's arising within the body without the history. So these are feelings and sensations. When we start getting into emotions like sadness, often there's a story that's attached to the experience of the emotion like sadness that if we want, we can explore. But often that takes us away from the somatic experience of being with that sensorial relationship in the body in a more primordial way, in a more raw way, where the mind hasn't gotten a hold of it and started trying to process out from a psychological perspective the why that's present. And if any of you are like me, that may have been very intriguing to get behind the curtain, like want to know what's behind there and get behind, that thought and why this and, what's present there. And there's a utility I find to that. And yet all things within balance, there's a place where we can get stuck. And that getting stuck then provokes within us a grasping sensation where it's not enough to know this one thing. There's always something else to make meaning out of. And the meaning maker who loves to make meaning can create lots of stories that can really take us away from the simplicity of the present lived experience. So for me, I've come to this path of surrender, or often what I call the mystery, the path of the mystery. Through different paths, often sounding something like the path of knowing, the path of mind, and yet there's an understanding that's beyond understanding. And when we start to really grasp the patterning of how the mind itself as a faculty operates and how our beingness is, we recognize that there's a choice, even in that, to allow what's present to be there, or to deny it. And denial can come in so many forms. And we can talk about denial like not wanting to feel what's happening. And we can have lots of reasons why it makes sense to not feel what's arising. Often I find it comes to this base of fear of sitting in the truth of what we're experiencing it, and it's shifting our whole framework of relationship to ourselves and the way that we now once thought. And the reconstruction that will happen on the outer, that will be the becoming of what is, that will change as well, in addition to the change that we have in ourselves. That can be scary. And so in a path of conscious surrender, we really are talking about death of our known self for something greater. And we don't know what that something greater is until we've tested the field enough that in some way we see enough of the patterning that even our psyche can start to participate in. Or maybe we've had a near-death experience where we recognize more of the what's beyond the veil, or what's beyond is not necessarily as scary as we think it is, and how much the mind then is utilized to create, in a way, with a certain certainty that doesn't leave room for spirit or the mystery to show us a different way than what the mind has created as the certainty. So when I was praying about what to talk about here, what do I desire to share with the world from this space? It became really clear. These ideas of communion, never leaving myself, the presence. What happens when we sit in these words together, communion? What arises within our inner universe as a response to hearing the word communion, never leaving yourself, presence. I'm here now. I'm not in the future. I'm not in the past. I am here. And what happens when we allow ourselves to have this moment that's ours? This moment right now, this one that you and I are sharing, is sacred. It will never, ever, ever in this form arise again in this way. This is your moment. This is my moment to be here. And to really, really get into the juice of what's being offered as a microcosm within our own inner universe, within ourselves, to have this communion, we're asked to give up something. What is that? For magic to be present, this idea of creating something from nothing, this transformation that's taking place. There's something that we are in contact with that must be known for us to value it. Consciously. So part of what I'm here doing, and I'll walk this a little bit more deeply, is I'm not here giving information in a way that I feel like, oh, people don't know this. I truly believe that what I'm saying and speaking about, we do, all of us know fundamentally. What's really happening behind the scenes is that in this moment, there's an embodiment that's happening that you're witnessing. There's an allowing here and a holding like a container and a spaciousness where spirit's leading me and the frequencies I'm embodying and I'm relaying. So in this way, when I, Courtney, the personality or the personhood as form, identity in this world, makes choices that are separate from the whole of me, the all of me. When I, Courtney, choose to listen to Courtney separate from the whole of self, I generate a distortion. I'm willfully choosing something out of alignment with the totality of myself. For us to become more present, we're asked to stop feeding the personhood. The Courtney's still here. She's operating. She's got a face. She's wearing makeup. She's got a smile. There is life within that, yet there's not confusion between this, what you're seeing, and the fullness of her. I said her, it's not even a gender, but you get what I'm pointing to, the totality of all of this. So being able to still ourselves so that we can start to listen to our bodies and what arises within the field of our bodies as attunement instruments into the field in which we're walking. Requires, in a way, an intention and an allowing for the all of life to be present with us without exception, without aversion. That means our bodies may experience a form of tension to what somebody says, or how we think things should be, that they aren't. And in this listening to our body's sensations, first starts a presence process with ourselves. From here in our listening, where we're not leaving ourselves to validate an outer experience, we're clear that this is what my experience is. In this place of communion with myself, validating myself and my experience, which is not in conflict or competition with another's experience of themselves. It's simply owning the I here that's having the experience. We start to notice that there's within this inner union that starts to take place, this awareness of the one who's having this experience without the story of the experience is the one with these sensations. And it can be as simple as I have tension. There's tension here. Then the question might be, or an observation might be, I have tension. I see that, right? I notice I have tension here. Can I relax it? Can I open to that tension? Can I soften to myself? When we recognize that our experience with ourselves is primordial, that from this relationship with ourselves, all other relationships are formed, we recognize the value and the importance of communion with self. This self, from the densest energetic reality that we have contact with, to the most subtle and transcendent contact that we have the awareness to perceive. All of this is part of our personal experience, our individual experience. And it's different for each person what that experience will be, and yet there's a range infinitely of experiences that we have the ability to experience. Staying in contact and close with ourselves, validating our experiences, softening to ourselves, we build within ourselves faithfulness, loyalty, as byproducts of this caring about ourselves and our experience, and deepening in awareness of the this that's present. This showing up and validating our experiencing over and over and over again. This is happening inside, is a commitment. We're committing to ourselves a practice of deepening in our listening, deepening in stillness, and when we start to observe that we have a choice, we can choose to hold on to the tension and make the tension about the other person, about the thing, about the environment, about the world, about something that's not here but there, and the idea of it's your fault. We notice we lose power, we lose control to make changes, because we lose connection and intimacy with the truth within ourselves, that there's tension, which means that there's something within us that desires closeness, connection, intimacy, tending. And the story doesn't matter. A way we could look at that is like a child, right? A child is running, skips, falls, scrapes its knee, and starts crying and runs to the mother. And what do you think a response, what do you think for the child might be the most nourishing response? A mother who says, "Hey, sweetheart, what happened?" Or her hugging the child and then saying, "Hey, honey, what happened?" This for us is important in a certain sort of order of operations, because often the mind wants to get involved and figure out why it hurts before it just tends to the hurt, or tends to the sensorial experience that's arising and observes, oh, I'm feeling this right here in my body. I don't know what it means, yet I'm aware that it's there. Our awareness is so precious to us. When we become aware, we're bringing intimacy to that person, place, thing that we become aware of. The awareness nourishes by the sheer fact that we bring into our field, our own field. It's like we hug it. There's an intimacy that we form with it by becoming aware of its existence. You exist. All of this is pointing to a fundamental relationship with the self, with the all of ourself. This is a commitment to the whole of you, loving yourself whole and discovering that within that, the whole of you as consciousness, becoming conscious of its unconsciousness. And all of life is here to help orchestrate this unfolding of consciousness for us. And this is love, loving us more deeply, purifying that within us that no longer serves the depth of love that wants to meet us now. And us loving ourselves, allowing ourselves to have this moment, to have this experience, to meet it with all of what it's offering. It's not about it feeling good. The point isn't about how it feels. How it feels is how it feels. What we can know with certainty is that it's here, it's present. This right now, this thing is happening. This right now, these feelings, they're arising. We can look, we can observe it, we can become aware of it. Once we become aware of it, which means we're not in denial about it, we're not pushing it away, we're not in aversion, we can bring it close and we can do something about it. When we blame, we push away. And we are refusing to experience the frequency of what's present, of what's here in this moment. So this embodiment process, we're really talking about, we're allowing life to be as it is, without us interfering. We're present to our body's experience, like an attunement instrument, of what's happening. the stories and sensations, that's all part of the experiencing. As we attune more deeply, there's less stories, we become more present to the sensations. And as we get more present to the sensations and have less aversion to feeling, to sensing, we become present to more being. We stop reacting, being triggered. We stop creating, which brings us into more okayness and allowance of all to be around us without making it different than what it is. We can be still while everything else is doing its thing around us, while we become more and more anchored, still awake and alive to the sensations, yet because of our own purification, we're less and less attached to the meaning of it, to what we think will happen if we don't do something with it, how the other person might be, to all the stories and the conditions that we've lived that have in the past unconsciously conditioned us to react and respond to stimuli that have nothing to do with the depth of our desire to be in love, in presence, to hold everything close in deep intimacy and communion, in marriage with ourselves, the complete okayness of the unconditionality that we've purified by allowing ourselves to be with what arises within, this communion with the inner workings of ourselves, a self-undoing of the self who's been conditioned to react, that becomes a natural unfolding of balancing action. For example, observation with non-action. A natural unfolding. This is organic to us, of balancing action with non-action. A choice is an action. A choice to do nothing and to sit. To sit with the discomfort of the not doing and undoing the conditionings of the doer within us, of the self that has to with the non-doer, the one that can be. And of course, these are all just words kind of pointing us in a direction, getting clear, right? There's an intimacy that we continue to have with ourselves that nobody else can define for us. Nobody else gets that right to define our experiences for us. Nobody else is living in our shoes. So first, getting that power and recognizing it really is a superpower to own ourselves and the me that's present, while simultaneously giving it back to the one who knows better. Is a process of expansion. It's anchoring this now experience, this arising and falling, and it's expanding in the knowing of itself. As the whole of itself in the body, where heaven and earth become one within ourselves, where earth has the body, the human, and our divinity, the sacredness, this gravity of this profundity and this profane in our humanity, this divinity that's here now, that's inclusive of everything. We stand in the fire, the crucible of the experiencing of the totality of ourselves in every moment, alive to ourselves, experiencing ourselves everywhere with no aversion. And we surrender, we allow ourselves to continue to love ourselves whole. Love ourselves whole. Include that. Include that. Include that. Where we see our only answer is inclusion. Our only response is love. Now, with this arising, and this arising, and this arising, the path becomes us. Only surrendering this small part to the greater whole of ourselves. We lose ourselves. I lose Courtney. The sacrifice on the altar of my own self-undoing is the me and the image that I've created myself separate from the totality that's present and possible within this now moment and this now. I lose and allow myself to let go of form identity and identification with ideas and concepts that constrict my consciousness and limit it into a prison where I no longer can move beyond that. So when I see I'm creating this prison, by allowing myself this experience. And I can take ownership of the I and the conditioning and surrender to something greater than the condition. Liberation is possible in every moment, in this unique present moment now. 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 In every now moment, here it's happening. You are so important to be here, because without you showing up and saying yes to your life, there's no experiencer present. You matter so much to your own experience that without you, this has no existence. That's how important you are. So this moment is your moment for liberation. To surrender what's in the way now, let go, let it change you, let death happen. Let the old versions of yourself go. Let it show you what is true, what is real, what is alive. Alive. It has life in it. It's operating from a deeper place and space within you. It's more full, more alive. It's more vital, and it's more empowering to your whole existence. Not because of what you're doing, but because of what you are allowing, which is your being present here now. Thank you so much for being with me. There's a lot here. There's so many different ways I see that we could really go and get into this microcosmic reality and really define this and also have a lot of fun in these other fields. I've really enjoyed being here with you. Thank you for so much, so much for this honor. And if you'd like to do some more deep soul diving into the depths, it would be my pleasure as well. Again, my name is Courtney. And I deeply thank you.